everybody, welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. This week we're talking about another block of the month quilt. This one has a very fun story behind it, so I'll hop out of the way so you can see it. This quilt was designed especially for the quilt show with Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms. So in about 2022, I got a message from the quilt show and they asked me if I would like to design their block of the month. And of course I said yes, why would you not? And so that began a very, very fun process in which I designed the first block of the month that I've ever had to design and know what the fabric was as I went. So normally what happens when I design a block of the month is that I draw a little sketch and I put it out there and you all see the little sketch and that's all terrific. And then I start making the quilt after that. And I don't ever plan fabric. It's on my design wall and it just evolves as it goes. I don't ever sit down and go, this is going there and that's going there. And this was the first time that I've had to do that because they had to make a kit, you see. Because what happened was they had the instructions coming out monthly and then there was a kit that you could buy. So obviously I needed to know what all of the fabrics were going to be that were in the kit. And I really wanted shops to be able to keep kitting the quilt after it was made, because quite often what happens is you make a quilt and then everybody wants the same fabric and then you can't get it. So I decided that a really easy way to do that would be to make all of the fabric Cave Facet basics and Tulip Pink basics, because I mean, obviously those are things that everybody can get all the time, right? It's nice and easy. And even if there was one that was out of print, there's always going to be something in a similar colour and size from those designers that's going to work. And then I chose this, excuse me, absolutely gorgeous little background spot, which I just fell in love with, little multi-spot. And it's a Ruby Star Society fabric from a collection called Birthday. And I thought, well, surely that will be one of the ones that they make into a Ruby Star Basic, because look how cute it is. Everyone's going to want that, right? No. So what happened was I had the quilt all designed and I, written down in the instructions, this leaf is going to go here and this spot is going to go there. And then they went to buy all of the fabric to do all of the hundreds and hundreds of kits, and it was out of print. So we had a little snafu, and the quilt show came up with the plan that they would print a fabric that was very, very similar. So what they did was they made a fabric with a tiny little square on it instead of a spot, and they did quite similar colours but toned them a little more to the tulas, and that's how they did all of the backgrounds for the kits, which is a nice little hilarious backstory for you to all know if you didn't know that already. Anyway, it was a very fun process for me to design a quilt for somebody else like that, because I had to really think about the things that make my block of the month successful and the things that make people want to do them. Often I work in a real vacuum. It's just me and my studio and my dog. I don't have a lot of feedback from people. I don't get a lot of opinions from other people about what I've designed. And so to be designing something for someone else who was then going to go and market it under their name and everything it was a real challenge for me. So I identified a few things that had made quilts very popular in the past. One of them was little houses. One of them was birds and flowers and a few other bits and pieces. So I put all of those together and I came up with this little quilt. So here's the house in the middle. And this is home. This is where you're on the way home to. It's a little bit, needs to be folded a different way. It's a bit creased. Then we've got these cone flowers that are growing in the garden and the hollyhocks. And then this is one of my favourite borders I think I've ever designed. And I'm actually working on a quilt at the moment where I've redesigned this exact border for that and put a couple of bits and pieces in it, because I don't know, there's something about these triangles all facing each other and the little ones on the end and the little vines coming out of it. It killed me when I sewed it up. I was like, yeah, I love that. Sometimes you think that was really good. And that's one of the things that I think is really good. So there's that gorgeous little border. There's all the repeating stars that come out. So they come right out into these corners. And then we have a slightly different shaped star right out in that point. All these little 8-point stars, and then one that's got a different shaped spiky bit on the end, and then another big long version of that triangle border out here. And of course you've got all the birdies and all of the applique, which is what I always love to do. And then round the outside, all these dear little cottages sitting in the piano key border. And that is unbelievably so quick and easy to put together, that border. It's one of the quickest border treatments. It just came together beautifully. It was beautifully machine quilted by Kat Jones, who does a lot of my custom quilting for me, and she did this quilt. She's actually just quilted Swadkey for me, so if you've been doing my block of the month this year, you will be able to see that very soon. The small quilt's just come back and it's beautiful. She's done a stunning job on it. I might do a down the rabbit hole on that one shortly when I've got them both back. So she's done a stunning job of filling all of that lovely negative space that's there. And you can see as Damien's zooming around, it's all Chula Pink basics. You've got all the the usual suspects of all her tiny stripes and spots. And then all the caifs that you can always get, the Roman glass and all of that sort of thing. And this is one of my favourite fabrics of all time, I think, that caif Roman glass in that particular colourway. Just heaven. So that's, once I'd designed the quilt, I then had to go to America and do a show for the quilt show with Alex and Ricky. And I travelled to California, and I've done segments for the show a couple of times with Alex when I've been at Sisters, and once I think in Lancaster I filmed a few with her, but I've never met Ricky ever. So I was quite looking forward to meeting Ricky and to being on the set and doing all that kind of thing. And I got there and got all set up, and there's like a holding room outside, and you get all your quilts in the order that you're going to show them, and they put some up around the studio, and you have a little chat through with all Alex's lovely staff about how it's all going to work. And then Alex came out to say hello, and she said, "You're not going to believe this, Ricky has COVID." And so I still didn't get to meet Ricky. Poor Ricky was sick in the hotel room down the road the whole time we were filming, and he missed out on doing a whole bunch of shows because he was literally so ill in a hotel room and couldn't come and be on the show, which was very, very sad. I should have brought my fairy wand for you, because they did this hilarious thing where so my mum, when I was growing up, called me the fairy princess, and I showed you a couple of down the rabbit holes ago the quilt that she made for me, and on the back corner it says, "For Sarah the Fairy Princess." And I took that quilt with me, and it was on that segment of the quilt show, and I talked about that quilt, about my mum and how I started quilting and all that sort of thing. And so when they put the show together, they had the guy who sort of does the hosting at the beginning, whose name I'm sorry, I can't remember, and he had like a fairy wand. He was dressed up as a fairy, did the fairy princess, and I have the fairy wand in my studio, which is very funny. They gave it to me to take home. So it's all the funny little stories that you collect as you go along, and that's my funny little story of the quilt show. I had an absolute blast being on the program, and it was always, it's always lovely to be with Alex. She's such a warm and genuine person. I really enjoyed the whole thing, and this is the quilt that came out of it, Homeward Bound. So the book, it's put together like the usual block of the month programs. Once the quilt show was done with it, it's no longer available to the public through the quilt show. So you have to get the book from me. So it's just like the other block of the month books. It's all broken out into chapters. There's video tutorial for each section of the chapter. It tells you how to put it all together, all the techniques and what have you. And you can get that from my website. You can also order our block of the month books from quite a lot of other places, including Amazon. But I would say to you, if you're going to order one of my block of the month books, please order it from me and not from a gigantic multi-millionaire. The cost will be pretty much the same, and no matter where you are in the world, we drop ship. So if it's coming to the US, it will be printed on demand and sent to you from within the US. So you're not paying very much shipping. I think it's only about $5. And then you're not giving a lot of money to the multi-millionaires, and instead you're giving it to the person who actually wrote the book. So I'll just put that out there. Once you've bought the book, you'll get an email from my husband Damien, who will send you a link to make an account, unless you already have one, to open up the videos and view them. If you buy it not from me and you buy it from somewhere else, a quilt shop, Amazon, whatever, you need to keep your receipt and email us a copy of the receipt so that we know that you've actually bought that book, and then we can open up the videos for you. So that's how that all works. That's Homeward Bound. You can find it at my website, www.sarahfilkey.com. There is a template set for it if you are so inclined, that gives you triangles and all the circles, a couple of other bits and pieces. I think also the little slightly weird shapes for those triangles on the star up in the corner from memory. And that's Homeward Bound, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's Down the Rabbit Hole. See you next time.